Jerome Posonko, if you will excuse me, Jerome Posonko is my name. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Jerome Posonko. If you want to follow me up, we link up. We can definitely hit me up over there on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Jerome Posonko as well. And we can definitely get to know more of the businesses in regards to that. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at Smart24TV. At Smart24TV, if you do want to follow us more and more in regards to the business stories that we do have here as well. In that particular regard, you can as well add us onto our website, www.smart24tv.com, and YouTube is a Smart24TV space live. We are streaming, definitely. And for everyone who's watching us via the different decoders from StarTimes down to GoTV and Signet, it is a very pleasure to be having you here. This is Smart Men's Business, and I'm yours truly. And of course, we are driving your business in that particular aspect. Let me put this here. One day, you're going to be a change of something you've always wanted. You're going to be the champion of change of something you wanted. And it will be an inspiration to your family. You'll become an inspiration to the community. And you'll be you'll be a role model to many. But as I'm speaking, some of you are still in bed. I don't know why. So if you want to be an inspiration, get out, you sleepyhead, and make sure you get into action and see that you pull out that change. The early birds already got to work. Other people do not even take time when it comes to resting. Most people rest for 3 hours. People are waking up, people working from 7 p.m., let me say, up to 9 p.m., from 7 p.m. to 4 a.m. in the morning. Others do wake up from 4 a.m. in the morning to actually go and make some money out there. Now, what about you? What are you doing to make sure that you actually add something onto the table? What are you doing to show the world that there is something new that you have to avail yourself? Because change starts with you. If you want to become a change in the community, why don't you take the change? And if you're taking the change, make sure you're ready up. You're making sure you're having plans ready for yourself. The details are on board. Make sure you're laying focus. Make sure there are a lot of things that you need to do. First, put God first as well, and make sure you're good to go. Businesses are being, business headlines are coming up. Businesses are creating motions, but there's something that we always forget in life, is how are we generating ideas in terms of businesses, and how are we remaining confident, and which way are we laying, and which possible ways are we actually laying to see that our businesses are strong enough and are able to be sustained. Leaving that to that, we head to the topical analysis in regards to the stories that we had in our news hour. But first, let's start with the Uganda Human Rights Commission that called for free internet access. And that is during a journalist presser at the Uganda Media Center. Now, the Human Rights Commission has called for the establishment of free internet access as access facilities in all districts in Uganda. The call does come as Uganda prepares to join the world to commemorate the International Day for Universal Access to Information on September 28th under the theme, The Right to Know, Building Back Better with Access to Information. Medi Mulumba, who is the acting chairperson of the Uganda Human Rights Commission, says there is a need for adequate punishment for the media practitioners and other disseminators of information who give fake information to the people. And if we were to look at this regards is the information that always runs through social media. And this particular information that runs through social media creates platforms where people are crashing. These same platforms of where people are crashing has created a gap between who is right in terms of the information center and who is wrong. Because mainly we have a number of people operating media channels, or what you call blogging channels, on different social media platforms, as well as others are vloggers as well. And these people are actually giving out information with rumored information just to attain views and gain followership, which has actually brought in place that there is a need of adequate punishment for media practitioners and other disseminators of the information who are giving out fake information. Because literally, if you're giving false information, you are changing the level of transmission. Because the duty of a journalist is to at least bring stories to life and give information that is to give adequate information, but more so relevant information. And which relevant information are we speaking about? You're supposed to give us information that is up to date, not information out of rumor. Because you as a journalist, you have to dig deeper. And one of the reasons as to why mainstream media has actually found a challenge with the social media users is because of the bloggers that are everywhere and spreading false information. And this false information has created room of the fact that the government is, I think, is it because there is a lot of followership and the government hasn't set guidelines to see that they regulate these social media users, or more so these people with huge followings, those that call themselves social media influencers. Mulumba did say that the growing use of online media is increasingly creating space for abuse of the rights provided by both the national laws and the UN conventions. He adds that media houses and social media users should be made aware of the consequences of misuse of the media, then be subjected to penalties when they violate these regulations. Now, this is actually a very good one. If you could see how people are definitely misusing media, in most cases, some people use the platforms they do have to actually belittle others. Some people use the platforms they have to defame others in an effort to see that they are gaining popularity at the expense of spoiling other people's names, or at the expense of spoiling the picture of other people out in the public, which is costing the level and the flow of information in the country. Because if you are to access information, it's just a simple balance. There is always, in the communication variant, there is always the source, there is a sender, and the receiver. Now, the key issue comes from two cases. First of all, the source of the information may be wrong or right. It can even be a ghost source. Now, the problem comes from the sender. The sender knows where the information has to go to, and he has the obligation to send the information to whoever he wants it to go to. And if at all his intention is not with you, then his message is definitely not going to be with you. And that is why in most cases you find out that the sender will deliberately send out information. If someone is criticizing the government, he will send it direct to the government. And there's some people who will send it through others to actually hit the government in that way. So if it is a source, and the source of information in most cases if you are to see the flow of journalism, in most cases, if information is valid, we may have quite a similar source of information. And then the senders will differ. Reason being, if the information is got, different channels have to send the information to deliver it. There are people who are actually having information coming in from Tanzania. That means the different channels that are going to deliver information from Tanzania to hit Uganda, Kenya, and the different angles are quite different channels. From the reporters down to the social media platforms that are sending out, the bloggers, the vloggers, what have you. But how does the sender deliver this information is the problem. Because every receiver is willing to receive. Because if, as a receiver, you're down, you're home, you're waiting for the information to come in the comfort. If you're turning onto your television, you're onto Smart 24 and you're seeing Joram Posonko delivering information. So your idea is Joram is delivering the rightful information. So if at all I'm posing out wrong information, the other media channel that will be sending out rightful information would be the one that will steal your attention. So clearly, my work is to see that I'm delivering the rightful information, which is being violated because there are no rules. The regulations that are there are being violated by the practices of the journalism or the information senders out there, people who are actually in charge of delivering information to the people. According to Article 41 of the 1995 Constitution, it actually provides the right access to information held by the government or public agencies. Grace Perry, who is the Deputy Country Representative Office of the High Commission for Human Rights, says the protection of the right to information has become even more important during during the COVID-19 pandemic due to the high extent of the misinformation happening around this world. Now, during the COVID-19 pandemic, there is a high extent of misinformation. From the level of how everyone is becoming a practicing journalist just because they have a smartphone, and they're having a huge influence on the numbers that they follow. You see, sometimes the way we deliver information is quite different from the way others deliver it, because the way a Smart 24 TV reporter is going to deliver a story is not the way it's not the way a smartphone user is going to deliver it, because someone who is a social media influencer or someone with a huge following on the different social media platforms will actually deliver information on his own benefit, because one, he doesn't have content to deliver to the people, and once he gets information like that, he will put it the way he feels it, because in most cases, if you'll agree with me, these people are after money, and the one who gives them the money is the one that is going to get the promotion on the post, and the promotion of the post creates them to become partisan, and by partisan they are going to become affiliated to these people, which means they are part of the crime. If at all someone is delivering wrong information and he's using a different source, that's because the source has money. It becomes a problem. That is why you could see we are having a lot of wrong information circulating around people, just because the people are violating the regulations and following bloggers or following media channels that do not even follow the UCC Act. And because for them, they want to have followership, and they want to have people that understand that their posts are out there to spread information, which sometimes is wrong information. And according to Grace Perry, she says the burden is then put on the media houses to correct the misinformation, hence the need by the government to support the media fulfill their mandate, which also helps promote people's participation in processes like elections. And speaking of internet access for the Ugandans to see that information flow is evident, most of social media users have issues with regards to Facebook, in the fact that in Uganda, Facebook was frozen out, and Ugandans are still waiting for the government to see if the government will ever open Facebook publicly without using virtual private network, which has been, Facebook has actually been off since January 2021, and now we're 9 months down the road without Facebook. And those that are operating it are actually using VPN, of which is quite costly in one way or the other. Because if you're using virtual private network, you are using a network that is not in the country, that is not being instituted in Uganda. That means you're using a network that is wrongly situated here, just because you want to support the transfer of information in that particular one. And if we are to look into the Article 41 of the 1995 Constitution, it actually provides the right of access to information held by the government or public agencies. So the government that is violating some of the rules, because if you could see security agencies violating the law of information and access to the information by beating up journalists who are delivering information and making sure they tell stories to the people, this is violation of it. At this particular moment, let's take a look at this story where the Uganda Human Rights Commission has called for free internet access. And in this particular story, we have Medi Mulumba, the acting chairperson of the Uganda Human Rights Commission, who actually says there is a need for adequate punishment for the media practitioners and disseminators of information who give false information as well as fake information as well. And as well, we have Grace Perry, the Deputy Country Representative of Office for the High Commission of Human Rights, saying the protection of the human rights information has become even more important during the COVID-19 pandemic. Pedison Mumbere reports more in regarding to this story. I'll be right back.
The Uganda Human Rights Commission has called for the establishment of free internet access facilities in all the districts of Uganda. The call comes as Uganda prepares to join the world to commemorate the International Day for Universal Access to Information on September 28th under the theme, The Right to Know, Building Back with Access to Information. Medi Mulumba, the acting chairperson of the Uganda Human Rights Commission, says that there is a need for adequate punishment for the media practitioners and other disseminators of information who gives fake information.
Government should roll out free internet in all districts. Right holders should have responsible use of the internet, where they should be truthful and desist from giving misinformation and fake news. Media houses and bloggers should ensure that information they release to the public is authentic and truthful. We've realized on many instances where we have breaking news, which is not actually breaking news, and at the end of the day, it's just misinformation and imaginations of people. Government should put more effort in educating the public in responsible social media use. In conclusion, the right to access of information is a fundamental human right that reinforces the enjoyment of other human rights. Information is a very powerful tool that enables citizens to assert and claim their rights, make informed decisions and choices regarding their lives. An informed public can be a deterrent to human rights violations and corruption because people demand for accountability. To ensure that individuals use information correctly and responsibly, they need to be aware of the relevant laws in place and punishment for wrong information, including cyberbullying, stalking, false and fake information, and use and other abuses of the media.
Mulumba says that the growing use of online media is increasingly creating space for abuse of the right provided by both national laws and the UN conventions. He adds that the media houses and social media users should be made aware of the consequences of misuse of media, then be subjected to penalties when they violate the regulations. Article 41 of the 1995 Constitution provides for the right of access to information held by the government or public agencies. Grace Perry, the Deputy Country Representative Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, says that the protection of the right to information has become even more important during the COVID-19 pandemic due to high extent of misinformation happening around the world.
Services and rights, especially with regards to health, education and food security. People's participation in public decision-making, including planning, budgeting and elections, is uninformed, while their ability to hold officials accountable is untenable without information. The COVID-19 pandemic has given access to information renewed importance, given the misinformation pandemic that we have seen. The UN Secretary General, in his 2021 Press Freedom Day message, noted that the global challenges we've faced during the COVID-19 pandemic underline the critical role of reliable, verified, and universally accessible information in saving lives and building strong, resilient societies. During the pandemic, he notes, and in other crises, including the climate emergency, journalists and media workers help us navigate a fast-changing and often overwhelming landscape of information while addressing dangerous inaccuracies and falsehoods. Free and independent journalism is our greatest ally in combating misinformation and disinformation. The Secretary General urges all governments to do everything in their power to support a free, independent and diverse.
She says that the burden is then put on the media houses to correct the misinformation, hence the need by the government to support the media fulfill their mandate, which also helps to promote people's participation in processes like election. Benson Mumbere, Smart.
According to Grace Perry, the burden is then put on the media houses to correct the misinformation, more so when it is actually moving out. If you will agree, in most cases when information is making moves on different social media platforms, most of the people choose to actually wait for what the news headlines in different media houses have to say regarding that particular story. Because most of the news headlines have come up with different headlines. Most of the news, let me say the prime news in the different TV stations always come up with rightful information regarding certain information. That is why the burden is put onto the media houses to correct misinformation. Hence the need by the governments to support the media fulfill the mandate, which also helps promote people's participation in processes like elections. Now, people are actually willing to give information to the journalists in most cases, and the problem that is there, the biggest problem that has actually been available in the world is the fact that most people take it as part of them to see that information goes through social media before it even hits mainstream media. Why? I think because social media has a number of following. That is why the media, the mainstream media, has actually been put into pressure as to why to open up also online blogs to clearly give out the rightful information in regards to different stories. And if you would agree, most of these social media users also use information they get from the online blogs, from the TVs, to see that they rightfully present information. But the fact that we are living in COVID-19, most people actually are, and most people are into getting to know what is making headlines everywhere. I think misinformation happening around the world is coming to a higher extent in that particular regard. And that is also according to Grace Perry, the Deputy Country Representative for the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights. Now, before that, Mulumba did have to say that the growing use of online media is increasingly creating space for abuse of the rights provided by both the national laws and the UN conventions. He added that the media houses and social media users should be more aware of the consequences of misuse by media, then be subjected to penalties when they violate the regulations. Yes, and the idea is before sending out information, one should have to understand which information you're sending out, because sometimes information can be used to target violence, or it can be used to actually incite violence among people. So to all the people out there using social media or using different media platforms to relay information, you need to pay very huge attention. You need to really pay keen attention to clearly know that the information you're delivering out is actually going to be very sensitive to every human, because human beings actually receive information in a different way, or different human beings perceive information in different aspects. That is why for anyone using or operating a social media platform, you need to understand that there are laws and regulations, there are rules and regulations governing information that lays on board. And this particular one, just like media houses are governed by Uganda Communications Commission, and so are the telecommunication companies. So before you relay any information, make sure the information you're relaying is not inciting violence, or it is in accordance to the law and the Act of Information and the right of access to information held by the government or the public agencies, as we refer to the Article 41 of the 1995 Constitution. Now, in that regard, that is focusing more of the Uganda Human Rights Commission that called for free internet access in the different regions. My bigger question was, and I want to open up to the viewer out there, you see, opening internet access, free internet access, has actually enabled a number of economies to stabilize. Mention of cheap internet access in Tanzania, where most of the sectors that are operating in e-commerce are actually benefiting, which is in turn giving room for development in the country. Talk about even the entertainment industry in Tanzania. There is free streaming. People are streaming different services. There is a lot. This is enabling it out, because if at all we are to look at even services of Zoom services online, or tapping into e-commerce and making sure that digital spaces are utilized in Uganda, internet has to be accessed freely or cheaply. Maybe the government would want to tap into some taxes available for the internet, regardless, because of the fact that Ugandans are using smartphones, and the number and the level of Ugandans using the smartphones is too many compared to the other mobile phone users as well. So clearly you would see that Uganda would want to tap into that, but the government should clearly say that they should make the taxes favorable for the Ugandan, because Ugandans will not access some services if the internet is still on a high, and it is also actually affecting their level of understanding, that is actually affecting their level of getting to know of the available information, because you accessing information makes you Actually, you are accessing valid information or information that is rightful in a way of, let me say, breaking news that comes out and in a rightful manner. You need to have rightful sources. And if sources are coming from the internet, then you will not know of any idea if at all you can't access the internet freely, or you cannot access the internet on a chip. Because if you're to look into the different taxes that are there, and if you're to look into the basics that a human being needs in Uganda, one, you will need to have rent for your own self. If you have pressure of internet, you will see that you can do without internet at the end of the day. So that means some information won't come to you as well because of the different taxes that comes to it. And if the government can look into it and see that the Uganda Human Rights Commission is right with the free internet access for the Ugandans, and also in all districts across the country by providing accessibility to all Ugandans, to see that they are facilitated with free internet. It will definitely be helpful to us, as the economies are definitely tapping into digital spaces and seeing that the different innovations are calling upon new innovations, and seeing that we tap into the available spaces in that particular aspect. All right, I head into a break. I will return with more in regards to the business stories. Keep it SMB.